I love you with my heart, with my soul, with every fibre of my entire being. How are you feeling right now, beautiful soul? Today I want to dive into a subject which a lot of people kind of skirt around. Some healers avoid this subject, some of them don't understand how to deal with this subject. Some people are just completely unaware of this topic and this subject, and others are aware of it and just completely avoid it like a barge pole. So I want to dive into it to do my best to give you some guidance and some assistance on how to deal with certain things. Right now on this planet, the energies are really high and they're being used by negative forces to cause chaos. And these energies can also be used by positive forces to create beauty and magic. Now, both possibilities are available. What is important for you to know when we talk about black magic, or we talk about implants, or entities, or any of this stuff of a lower vibrational nature? We have to realize it's a game. We also have to realize it's contractual. There are cosmic laws, and certain beings can't just come into your space and start doing things to your body or doing things to your consciousness without you agreeing on some level for this to take place. There's always a deal, there's always a contract, there's always something in place where on some level you have agreed for this to happen. Now, it's not always straightforward. The beings, the energies, the forces that try and get you to go into these contracts are very clever, extremely intelligent, they're cunning, they're manipulative as manipulative can become or be, and it's not a really easy situation to navigate because it's full of cloaks and mirrors and smokes and mirrors, and it's just a difficult situation. But when you kind of you play with this stuff and you get involved with this stuff, you start to understand it a little bit more. Now, I'm going to tell you a little story, and this has happened in the last sort of 7 days in my home with my son. And I want to tell you this story because it is a really good example of how other forces can trick you into doing something. So, first of all, I decided to sign a contract to rescind any contracts that my soul had ever signed into on a human level. Okay, I've rescinded metaphysically many times all of the contracts that I've ever kind of signed into. But speaking to a very good friend of mine, she explained to me, and her husband explained to me, that it really must be done in the physical, and they specialize in these kind of contracts, these divine sovereign contracts that you've got to sign in your own blood. So I decided to get mine sent to me and to sign mine and get mine witnessed. So I was in the process of doing that. Around the same sort of time, I put a notification on our website to get everybody together for a big group healing. And the big group healing was to send love, light and healing to the children that have been rescued from some of these underground bases, and also to some of the souls of the children that are in shock, torment, being tortured in multidimensional spaces. Now, when I decided to do both of these things, and at the same time I was speaking to my solicitor, and we were in the process of setting up a charity, and we designed a training program to actually help some of these trafficked kids once they're rescued. So all of these three things were things that we were in the process of doing, and it all happened within like a day of each other. So we were putting out a lot of good energy, a lot of positive ways we were about to create to help. Now, when you do certain things like this, it can trigger the other side, and there can be a little bit of backlash energetically. And that's what came into our space. Now, I've dealt with a lot of this stuff over the years with star magic. We've removed implants, entities, black magic, you name it. We've dealt with pretty much everything. And for me personally, it never really bothers me too much. There are times when it affects me a little bit, but I ride it out, and I dispel it from my space with the methods and the ways that I know how, and it works. What happens is, if they can't get to you, they'll get to someone close to you. So it could be your girlfriend or your boyfriend, it could be your husband or your wife, it could be your mum or your dad. In my case, it was my son. So anyway, what happened is my son was out riding his bike one evening, and he's riding home. He's literally 200-300 meters from the house. It's about 10:30 at night time, and he sees something moving down the pavement. Now, he gets in line with this thing. He thinks it's like a fox or an animal or something. He gets in line, stops, and there's two goblins staring at him, like between sort of like knee and hip height, you know, fucking about this big, staring at him. And when we get through the whole story, you'll understand exactly what happened, but I'll just tell you as it unfolded. He saw these two goblins. He carries on riding, and he stops a little bit further down the road, and he turns, and the goblins have walked into the road, and he can hear them like making all these strange noises and sounds, like he can hear them talking in his head. So he's come home, I'm in the kitchen, and he starts telling me this story. Then he goes outside to our front gate to put the lock on, and he comes running in. Dad, it's at the end of the drive. It's staring at me round the bush. He's freaked out. So I've gone out. It had gone. Nothing happened for a couple of days, and then 2 days later, my son says, "Dad, I'm going out for a bike ride." Again, it's late at night and it's dark. I said, I don't think you should go out, really. You know, all of the energies that are flying around at the moment, you should probably stay in. He's like, "Oh, I'm going to go out anyway." Free will. It's, you know, I'm not going to ever tell anyone what they can and they can't do. So even if I'm a little bit concerned, it's up to him to make these choices. So he goes out for a bike ride. 10-15 minutes later, the phone rings. It's Josh. Dad is chasing me down the road. So I said, stay on the phone, keep riding home. So I've ran out the front door, into the road. I'm running up the road. I asked him about where he was, so I knew which way to go. He's on the phone. Dad is still chasing me. And then literally about 30 seconds later, Dad, it's just shapeshifted into a fox. And this big fox is running down the road after me. Anyway, I get up near the roundabout. He's like, Dad, it's just vanished. It's just vanished. I don't know where it's gone. I said, just keep riding. Anyway, I've met him in the road. He's scared shitless. I've given him a big hug. We've gone home. So that was that. Then a couple of nights ago, the day that I got the contract come through the post for me to sign in blood, and about 4 days after we'd done our first online global meditation to help heal the children, my daughter's come in. She said, "Dad, Josh needs your help." So I ran upstairs, and he's on the bed. He's face down and he's crying, okay, and he's really upset, and he's like, and he's in pain as well. He's in loads of pain. And I said to him, I said, "What happened?" He said, "Well, I can't tell you." He said, I've done something really bad. I said, "What do you mean you've done something really bad?" He said, "I just can't talk about it." So anyway, this went on, and I'm, you know, opening my heart, and I'm looking what's in his body, and I can see this being in his body. It had like black wings. It was like a dragon, but it wasn't a dragon. It was like a kind of like a some kind of like pterodactyl slash dragon slash weird looking winged black being in his back. So I'm not telling him I'm seeing this. I'm just talking to him. And then he says to me, "Dad, I killed a bird." And he was feeling really guilty that he felt he killed this bird. I said, "Okay, tell me what happened." He said, well, I was at the park earlier and I looked down and I saw a little bird on the bench next to me. And a voice came into my head and said, kill it, everything's going to be okay. I said, what did you do? He said, well, I grabbed the bird and I strangled it. Now, what had happened, in his consciousness, there was two things playing out. And this is where the trickery comes in. Number one, he'd seen goblins shapeshifting into foxes. So there's a part of his consciousness that thought, well, this bird might shapeshift into something negative. So he grabbed the bird and he strangled it. So then I say to him, what happened to the bird after you strangled it? He said it just disappeared. I said, what happened next? He said, well, I heard a voice in my head say, just let me come inside and everything will be okay. So now he's feeling guilty because he's killed a bird. And now he wants it all to be okay. So this voice is saying to him, let me come inside and everything's going to be okay. He said yes. Okay. He knows better than that, but something was warping his mind and he said yes. This winged being's come in through his back. He said he felt it come down through the back of his neck, the back of his head. Anyway, I explained to him that the bird wasn't real. The bird was a complete illusion. Okay? The bird didn't exist, but something had planted the bird into his consciousness. It felt real. It looked real. It was real. It felt completely real. This is how good mind control can be. So anyway, in his mind, he's killed the bird. He's felt guilty. They've given him the opportunity to come in. He's done a contract. He's signed a contract. He's done a deal. The being's inside of him. So he's lying down on the bed. I do what I need to do. I sit him up on the bed and I go in through his heart and I communicate with this being and I end up taking the being out. Okay, I cut a hole in the cosmic fabric and I take the being back to which dimensional space it needs to go to. There are different levels of consciousness, there are different dimensional spaces. In an ideal world, you take these beings back to source, but some of them can't go because they've got lessons to learn in other spaces. What we do in Star Magic is we usually create a smoky quartz pyramid and we'll put the person that has the entity inside of them inside the smoky quartz pyramid. I would be in there or whoever was facilitating the healing, and then we place a code into the pyramid. The code that we use in Star Magic is M369 for this particular scenario. M369 is like a satellite navigation system. Okay, it communicates with the smoky quartz pyramid. So once I send the being through a hole in the pyramid, it's the M369 code takes it to whichever dimensional space it needs to go to. So I did that. I took the being out. I had to get Josh to rescind his contracts. So I got him to say, I break all contracts throughout all time and space, across all dimensions, densities, realities and frequency bands, and I break them now. I am a divine sovereign being. And so it is. I break all contracts and all agreements throughout all time and space, across all dimensions, densities, frequency bands, realities, and I break them now. Whichever order you say that little bit in, it doesn't really matter. I am a divine sovereign being, and so it is. I get them to say it 3 times with emotion and gusto, and if they don't say it with conviction, I get them to say it another 3 times. It has to be extremely forceful and powerful and enforcing your boundaries. So when the person does that, what I'll be doing at the same time is seeing the contracts that have taken place and where those contracts lie in another dimensional space, because there'll be other beings, whether they're reptilians, draconians, some other kind of ET of a malevolent nature. They have storehouses of contracts. There are classrooms, there are places where these beings are, where they're teaching, where there's like universities, you know, within these other dimensional spaces. This might sound a bit crazy to you, but this is reality. And what you've got to do is you've got to go into the reality where the contract was signed, take the contracts, and I burn them. Okay, whilst they're saying I break all contracts and all agreements, blah blah blah, I'm burning the contracts. Okay, so they're null and void anymore. They've gone, and the beings that the contracts were signed with, or their masters, because normally they send in lower beings down the pecking order to kind of be in the person or in the person's field. So there's like bosses, hierarchy. So what you're doing is you're breaking the contract with whoever owns the beings that are inside of the person. This is how it works. So they say what they need to say. I burn the contracts. I break the agreements with the negative beings. Job done. Now, I'm sharing this with you because I want you to understand that this is how cunning they can be to get a contract signed. Like our space, our house is gridded up, okay? It's very difficult for a being to come into our house. But if one of the people in our house is outside of the grids and out walking around and they enter into a contract and the being comes inside of them, yeah, they can walk through the front door and bring the being inside. And then hell can unleash inside of our home. And that is what happened for a couple of days. There was arguments, there was this, there was that. Okay, this happens. Okay, they're very clever about how they get involved. Now I'm going to tell you another little story. And this happened the same day that Josh did the thing with the birds. My friend, he's my friend, he's my apprentice, he's like my brother. He lives with us, he's my daughter's boyfriend also. He was in the street and he was just sat there with his bike, just leaning against a shop, you know, no one else is on the pavement. My daughter, his girlfriend, is over the road getting something from the shop. And he's just sat there chilling. And a lady walks down the road. And this lady that walks down the road starts having a go at him. You know, we're supposed to be 2 meters apart, get off the pavement, blah, blah, blah. He said, listen, you know, if you want to speak to me with respect, I'll quite happily move, but don't come into my space and start ordering me around and being abusive. So in the end, she's like, blah, 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 blah. Why don't you just piss off back to America? He's American. So why don't you just piss off back to America? So he's like, whatever. He just carried on sitting there. She walked over the road and, walked over the road towards the van and kind of went behind the van. Anyway, he's got up, got his bike. He's walked over the road, walked by the van, and she's not there. So he's spoken to my daughter, who was watching him the whole time. And he explained to her the experience, and my daughter said, what are you talking about? There was nobody there. You've not been speaking to a woman. So this is another thing where a real lady, or what looks like a real lady, who he had a conversation with, has walked down the road that wasn't real. It was just a mind construct sent into his space to save piss off back to America and try and bring his vibration down a little bit. This is how the game works. Okay? Not everything you see in your environment is real. Things can be sent into your space to bring you into fear, to try and make you angry, to try and piss you off in some way, shape or form. Nothing is as it seems. And if they can get you into a lower vibrational state, then they can implant thoughts and they can try and do deals when you're a little bit weaker. This is why it's very important. Don't put chemicals into your body. Drugs, alcohol, sugar, even coffee sometimes can tip your brain chemicals. You've got to stay really on an even keel. And it's important that you do that, because if your brain chemicals tip, you're a little bit susceptible. If you go out and have a couple of drinks, your brain chemicals are altered and you are susceptible to infiltration. Especially now on this planet right now, with this lockdown and everything that's going on, you've got to be on your game. Especially if you're working in the kind of field that I work in, where you're helping people, where you're bouncing around in these kind of 4-5D spaces, working on a multi-dimensional level, helping. If I was to go out and drink alcohol right now, I'd be distorted. If I was to put sugar into my system and, you know, anything that was going to kind of like tip my brain chemicals a little bit, I'm susceptible. And I can't do that for myself. I can't do that for people around me. And if you're a healer, if you're working on this kind of level, you should be doing the same too. You got to be smart. You got to be intelligent, okay? So you've got to keep your brain chemicals stable. Now, there's other things to take into consideration, okay? I've explained to you that things can come in and create contracts, and they can create illusions to be able to, install those contracts. I mean, I'm giving you a short explanation here. I could talk to you about this stuff for days. But what I want to do is just give you a couple of ways or ideas, techniques, because there's different facets to this stuff. So you've got implants. Okay, there can be physical implants in your body, metal objects, that these beings implant into you. They can take you in dream time to other quantum spaces, onto spacecrafts, and they can put implants in you. They can put implants, esoteric implants in your field. They can also put esoteric implants inside your body. Okay, they can look like wiring, they can look like objects, all different things. There's entities that can come into your body, like I explained with my son, that can be physically in your body, or they can be in your field, working around you. Now, you've also got implants that go into the body that send messages to other spacecrafts or to other beings under the ground in other dimensional spaces. They can be operating these implants with little computer devices. So if you see one of these, you've got to track it to where it comes from, and then you've got to go in and you've got to destroy the computer system or get rid of that, however that's working. And there's so many different variations of this stuff. You just have to start to delve into it and play with it, and you start to work out what to do in different situations. You've got electrics to take into consideration. Okay, I've got an IP address on my computer. If I do a webinar, if I speak to a client that's got entities, they can track through my IP address back to my home, and then they know where to come and get me. Okay, so you might want to use a VPN, for example. It works. Things can come through the plug sockets. Artificial intelligence, negative forces, AI beings can come through the electrics and infiltrate your consciousness that way. So you've got to grid up your home. Water supply, electrics, they can come through this way. There's many different ways they can infiltrate. Now, all of these things that I'm sharing with you because I want you to be aware. This isn't because you're supposed to be frightened of this shit. No way. A lot of this stuff cannot exist when you're in joy, bliss, harmony, on the frequency of love. When your heart is wide open, these concepts, like the bird, for example, on the bench, that wouldn't hold space. Okay? When certain thoughts come into your head, when you're on a really high frequency, you recognize those thoughts that aren't your own, and you just dispel them. If you've tipped your brain chemicals and you've had some alcohol, or you're high on even green tea, for example, you can be flying a little bit and you're not quite 100% sort of stable and level. You can read those thoughts wrongly and maybe think that they're your thoughts, and those thoughts can then have an impact on your bodily emotions, and things can start to tip, and it's a railroad track that they take you on. And once they've tipped you properly, boom, they start sending in more thoughts, and until it derails your train and you're fucked up. So love is the way forwards. You have to be on the frequency of love, bouncing around, and be completely in love and choose it over fear every time. When you're in fear, your immune system goes down. When you're in love, your immune system's boosted. Stem cells are boosted when you're in love, and they're destroyed when you're in fear. There's many different reasons for choosing love over fear, but in this kind of field that we're talking about now, this healing, parasites, negative entity, implant fields, black magic fields, you've got to stay in love, and you've got to keep your brain chemicals stable. Now, if I see an implant in someone, I'm going to go in and I'm going to take the implant out of their consciousness, out of their body, out of their field. I'm going to cut a hole in the fabric of the cosmos and chuck it back to source. I'm going to dissolve it into light, into positivity. I'm going to completely dissolve that and change the vibration, the frequency of it, and make sure that it completely dissolves and it's non-existent anymore. if I take out a physical implant, sometimes you get these tiny little bits of metal, smaller than my little finger, half the size of my little finger, even smaller sometimes. Sometimes as thin as just my little finger, the nail on my little finger, and you can take those out of people. It's more rare to do that, but we have seen a few. And if I take those out, I'll bury them. I'll dig a big hole somewhere and I'll bury it, and I'll grid the space up, where the hole was dug, so no one's ever going to find it. And before I go to that place and dig it up, I'm going to put myself in a chromium jumpsuit, put a big kind of like tracksuit and hood made of chromium over my body, so no one can see me travel. Okay, I always use chromium because chromium is the one frequency. It's an Andromedan frequency, kaleidoscopic chromium. I'm writing about it in my new book, Be Superhuman. Okay, but when we're training people with Star Magic, we use a lot of kaleidoscopic chromium because it has every single color range within it. Beyond infrared and ultraviolet, it has all of the high vibrational 560 color ranges, which are almost translucent. And if a being tries to move through that, you can catch it, because beings shapeshift. And when they come through kaleidoscopic chromium, they can't shapeshift fast enough to get through all of the different color ranges, so eventually they get seen. So kaleidoscopic chromium, put a jumpsuit on, put a hoodie on, and you can move through the space to go and bury your implant. Now you might see implants that are wired from the genitals all the way around the spine up into the base of the cranium. You've got to start unpicking them and pulling them out and make sure that you get everything out. At the same time, you've got to break the contracts with the beings that put these in. There's all these different things to take into consideration. You want to put grids around your home. So the grid that I normally put around my home is an octahedron, a gigantic octahedron around my home. Around the octahedron, I'll put an inverted pyramid that's even bigger. And I'll spin the octahedron and the inverted pyramid clockwise. So when energies come through the space, they're just deflected off. I'll put a gigantic sphere around the gigantic inverted pyramid. And I'll fill the space between the sphere and the pyramid up with chromium light. So if anything does get through the sphere, I see it. And if it gets to the pyramid, it's going to get rebounded off. I'll put diamond or chromium light between the pyramid and the octahedron. Okay. And if they do get through the second layer, which is highly unlikely, but it can happen, I'm definitely going to see them. And then they've got to get through the octahedron. By that time, you're going to see it, you're going to feel it, and you know what's happening. And I normally put violet lights inside the octahedron all the way around the house, then diamond chromium, and then chromium. At the moment, because things are so amplified, my grids are a lot bigger. I've got that grid around my home. I've also got several other pyramids, larger ones, that are the right way up, and several inverted pyramids around the outside of those. So my grids are going out half a mile from my home, sometimes a little bit longer. About a week or so ago, we had so many blackbirds in our garden. And these weren't normal blackbirds. These were big blackbirds. And they were just sat on the fence staring at us. And it was, again, it's black magic, that they were sent to spy on us. Again, this might sound a bit crazy if you're not versed in this stuff, but it's like Harry Potter, man. It's real, okay? So they were on our fence, blah, blah, blah. And we extended our grids out a lot more. And then they've not been able to come, near our garden or near our home since. You see them go to the grids and they just can't come through. It's interesting to watch. So these things are real. What you've got to do is stay in love. What you've got to do is rescind the contracts and break the contracts. What you've got to do is open your heart and realize that you're the most powerful, measurable force in the entire universe. You are love, and nothing can combat that, nothing can beat that, okay? Your heart frequency, joy, bliss, divinity, ecstasy are mission critical. It's important that you laugh loads. When you laugh, they can't take a high vibrational, laughing, playful, childlike environment. It really annoys them. They lash out a little bit, but then they just disappear. Okay? Now, if you've got any kind of remnants of fear in your subconsciousness, they'll latch onto that and they'll be able to stay But if you stay in pure divine love, it's very difficult for them. Now, there are some times that you can communicate with these things to pull them out of someone's body, and sometimes you have got to just basically go in and rip them out. In an ideal scenario, you'll use love, you'll be kind, and you'll remove these beings from other people's bodies in a kind and compassionate way. What you've got to understand is that these beings are inside a human body, and the human body is like their home. So some of them have been with the soul for such a long period of time through body after body that they're scared to leave. And if you're actually compassionate with them and you open your heart and pour love into the situation, they'll leave willingly, and you can take them back to source or wherever they need to go to. But there are other ones that will fight, and you've got to use a bit more force. There isn't one size fits all with every single human being. And sometimes you can get a human that has many, many implants. And you also get implants sometimes that are it's like they're alive. You start to take it out and it starts to grow in a different way. And then you've got to find a different way of removing them. One way to do it is to freeze the whole implant. But you've got to do it so quick because the freezing doesn't last for long. There are so many stories that I could tell you about implants. I'll tell you one that is quite fascinating. We had a guy that came to one of our trainings in Dubai, and when I first met him, he was like a robot. He was like, "Hello, Jerry." He was just like C3PO. Anyway, we got him down on the healing bed on one of the days of the training, and we saw he was full of mechanics and robotics and electrics. So it took us about 45 minutes to get it all out of his body. And his legs were smashing up and down, his arms were smashing up and down, he was screaming. It was intense. Okay. So anyway, we've taken all of these implants out of his body, the whole electrical circuit. It was wired through his whole nervous system. It was intense. We've taken it out. He's gone to the toilet. He's come back. He said, "Jerry, I just pissed brake fluid." He said, "I just had this purple liquid just flowing out from me, and I knew it was like brake fluid." He said it was the most surreal experience. He's come back in and he was completely different. He was a different human being once all the robotics had moved. Like his eyes came back to life, his facial, he looked, his energy was back. I had a lady, when I very first started doing healing, I was at a Mind Body Spirit Festival in Birmingham, and a lady walked down the aisle to meet me, and she was massive, and she was like this, boom, 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 and she walked up to me and she ripped her own cheek like that, and she was ripping it, and she said, "Fuck you." She looked into my eyes, and I could see there was 3 entities inside of her. To cut a long story short, we took the entities out, and her hands, which were like man's shovel hands before, her shoulders, which were like broad, like a big bruiser, they all went slender, her hands went slender. She returned to her normal size because this big entity, which had been tormenting her for many years, had gone. She had her life back. These things create physical changes in your life. They're very cunning, they're very manipulative, and a lot of the ones that are put inside bodies and into the fields of people, they're only like minions for the big bosses that are controlling them. So, love, discernment, enforce your boundaries, know that nothing's more powerful than you. And a lot of the time in these situations, it's a battle of willpower. If your willpower is stronger than theirs, then you're going to overcome the situation. If their willpower is stronger than yours, they can overcome you. And they also use trickery and cunningness. So you've got to understand that at the same time. Don't believe the thoughts in your head. Don't believe what you see in your environment. Use discernment. If you see something, question it. Open your heart. Surround the being, the object, the person, whatever it is that you're seeing with chromium, okay? Kaleidoscopic chromium. Surround the person with it, or whatever it is, the being. And if they can hold that space for 2 minutes, they're a high vibrational force. Most of the time, within 10, 15, 20 seconds, those beings will shoot away from kaleidoscopic chromium. They'll dissolve, they'll just bolt, they'll go. because they can't handle the frequency, or they can't shapeshift fast enough to maintain what looks to you like a high vibrational entity, whether they present themselves as your dead gran or your dead auntie or your brother that's passed on, or Archangel Michael, or whoever it is. They can't just keep shifting and holding and maintaining that in kaleidoscopic chromium. They'll present themselves to you and you'll see and you'll be like, yep, I see you. Boom, get out of my space, you know? So entities, black magic, it's a whole minefield. But what you got to understand is that if you commit to going in and dealing with this situation, and you don't back down, whether it's an implant, whether it's black magic, whether it's an entity, okay, whether it's AI coming through your electrics, if you just stay in the space, you stay centered and you stay focused and you're completely aware, you can deal with anything. Because no one ever taught me this stuff. I had to learn this stuff or remember this stuff by trial and error, by committing to dealing with the situation and working it out. You don't always know how a game is going to unfold when you start playing it, but you just start playing it. The thing is with black magic and all of this sort of stuff, most people don't know the rules. I've shared the main rules with you today, so now you know the rules. Now you can play the game. It doesn't mean you know how the game is going to unfold, because no one ever does in any game. Even if you play the game 1,000 times, it can unfold differently every time. A board game, a computer game, whatever. So you've just got to commit to the game and decide, I am going to overcome this, and you will find a way. And you could be in there for 20 minutes, 30 minutes thinking, shit man, I'm not getting anywhere. That's what they want you to think. And they'll be planting those thoughts into your head. Chuck them out and say, I'm going to deal with this. And you stay focused and you get the job done. And you keep working until you find those implants. Sometimes you'll find beings in the human body that are gigantic, but they've shapeshifted into one tiny little cell that's hidden in someone's right eyeball. I've seen it. And you've just got to keep working. You know it's in there. You've got to be patient. You've got to keep searching. You've got to keep shining light. If I've got a person, I'll be shining chromium light from this end, chromium light from that end, blasting it through the body. The beings don't like it. They'll go into the center. Then you can go in through the navel, in through the heart. Boom. Have a look. Take it out. Okay? That's another way that you can deal with entities inside of someone. But first you put up that grid of that smoky quartz pyramid. Because once you take the being out, they're not going to be able to get through the smoky quartz pyramid. It's going to hold them in the space. Because you might have another being inside of that person. There might be 5 or 10 or 20 or 3. So if you take one out, you can dump it on the floor. It's only going to run around in your space. Who gives a shit? You take the next one out, then you've got 3 in there. You can, get the person into a good space and then cut a hole in the smoky quartz, M369, send them back through. The satellite navigation system takes them to the right dimensional space. And then you can collapse the pyramid down, send the client on their way. At the moment, on this planet, dreams, okay? Beings are coming into people's dreams and doing deals and getting people to sign contracts even in dream time, okay? So you've got to be aware too. When you're going into dream time, grid up your space. Check yourself in the morning. Not because you're being fearful, just because you're being aware. If I'm going to go into a business meeting, I'm going to do my hair, I'm going to brush my teeth, I'm going to have a shower, I'm going to check there's no shit on my face. I'm going to check that my suit or my shirt is got no fluff on it. I'm going to look immaculate and present myself well. Not because I'm scared, but because I want to present myself well. When you wake up in the morning, check your body, internally and externally. Shine some chromium through. Make sure that your field is clear. Every night before you go to bed, just make sure that your grids are okay. It takes 2 or 3 minutes. 5 minutes max. Just check those grids. Okay, and if anything's out of whack, just reinforce them. Put another couple of layers up. You're not doing it because you're scared, you're doing it because you're sensible and you're smart and you understand the game that we're playing. This is a spiritual war. It's a war for the right passage of your soul. It's a war for your energy. It's a game of energy. They can feed off of low vibrational frequencies. That's why you got to stay in laughter and love and joy and happiness. I'm going to share something with you. A friend of mine gave me another contract breaker the other day, and I'm going to share this with you because it's a good one. Okay? This is what you say when you want to rescind the contract. Now, it goes like this. Superconscious, by the force of grace, will you manifest the essence of the performance and the effect of my formally rescinding devices, entities, programs, black magic, whatever you want to say in that space. And then I am a clear and pure channel of light, and I ask the superconscious for new pictures of reality that serve my highest being and light, and I release the superconscious back to perfection in praise, grace, and gratitude. And so it is. I'll say it one more time. Superconscious, by the force of grace, will you manifest the essence of the performance and the effect of my formally rescinding devices, programs, entities, implants, black magic. I am a clear and pure channel of light, and I ask the superconscious for new pictures of reality that serve my highest being and light, and I release the superconscious back to perfection in praise, grace, and gratitude. And so it is. My friend gave me that the other day. I've not used it on myself or anyone close to me. I did use it on a client and it works. What I actually did is I combined that with what I always say, which is I break all agreements and all contracts throughout all time and space, across all dimensions, densities, realities, and frequency bands, and I break them now. I am a divine sovereign being, and so it is. So I combine that with my one. Extra gumph, extra force, extra gusto. Say it 3 times with power, with focus, with precision, and mean it, okay? This is going to help you. So remember, beautiful soul, you are a divine sovereign being. And you, at any point in your life, can rescind all contracts. You can change reality. You can open your heart and be love. You're a quantum architect, an architect of your own reality. 3, 4, 5D, 6D. Okay, there are different levels, different frequency bands that we operate at. And no one person is in 3D or 4D or 5D or 6D or 7D. It's bullshit. We're bouncing between all of them. We're more 3, 4D, touching upon 5D now and again. But some of us bounce in 6 and 7, come back to 3. You know, we go to different quantum spaces because we're working multidimensionally all the time. And that's why it's important to be aware of this game and to realize that not everything you see is always as it seems. You've got to ask questions, you've got to question, you've got to use discernment, you've got to be in love, you've got to stay out of fear. Some people say fear is a good thing. I mean, fear can be a good thing, you know, to make you aware in terms of danger. If you see a saber-toothed tiger, or you see a bear, or you see a lion, it's, you know, you feel that energy, and that's okay to run. But maybe by running, you actually get caught because the lion sees you and it's going to outrun you. Maybe by staying calm, you can think your way out of the situation. Maybe hiding is better in that scenario. Not hiding because you're fearful, hiding because you're being intelligent. Okay, let's look at this in terms of intelligence and not fear. Okay, love and intelligence. Well, you can navigate multiple universes safely. I hope you found this information useful. Okay, know that I love you. You're amazing. You are just the most phenomenal, extraordinary being that has ever graced these earthly planes. Nothing can beat you, nothing can defeat you, nothing can drag you down into the depths of despair unless you allow it to. So stay focused, stay aware, be your power, be authentic, live with a gigantic, great big open cosmic heart. Love, hug, be love, be kindness, be beauty and magic, wonder and excitement. I love you. with my heart, with my soul, with every fiber of my entire being. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe and share. Hit the like button. Share these positive messages with your friends, with your family, with your loved ones. If you're watching it on Facebook, like it and share it. Instagram, share it with your friends and family. Okay? Teamwork is the key. We can change this planet and we can move into the golden age. It's happening right now. Let's make it happen a little bit faster. Let's open our hearts to a greater degree. Go out into this world. Hug tightly. Never be the first to let go. Love fiercely and ferociously. And I'll see you again real soon, beautiful soul. Remember to check out our website, starmagichealing.com. One love, one heart, one human family. Peace out, beautiful soul.